Hey, it is your buddy Peace and Harmony with you here today. We're zooming in and focusing in a little bit more in depth on where we left off. I'm sorry we encountered a technical difficulty, but I want to keep the content going here as we try to zoom in and understand the role of withdrawal and why wouldn't a covert narcissist be able to support you in the manner that gets your needs met. In other words, why would they downplay? Why would they be withholding of natural, normal amounts of support, especially when it comes to being there to sort of be with you and be present in your needs, your emotional needs, perhaps even your physical needs, your financial needs, your needs for connection, to be listened to be validated, to have recognition of those. Why would this be downplayed? Why would they be made to seem somewhat basically irrational or irrelevant or unfounded? It is to understand that the covert narcissist will get their own needs met for connection, particularly by surrounding themselves with people who will be empathetic and sensitive to their needs, especially as it overwhelms, trumps, or overrides their own. Their own needs of the people who they surround themselves with. In other words, because of the way that they position themselves, their status, how they present themselves as superior than, above, greater than, better than, in more or less, words, or really sort of unspoken, either through their talents, their income, their height, their sex, their talents, their intellect, whatever it is. There's always going to be in the covert narcissist some element that puts them above and beyond others in their life. So it's unique for each relationship. They might be able to get the drugs. They might be able to be the sex. They might be able to have the looks. They might have the charm. They might satisfy your needs for dependence, for connection. They might be there for you at vulnerable times. But furthermore, there is a very specific dynamic that the covert narcissist will manipulate and basically take power over, and that is through a subtle form of emotional hurt. And the emotional hurt is not oftentimes what is communicated, it is what is insinuated. And the subtle form of hurt can be a sort of insecurity about them, a sort of, vulnerable past, a humble past, a sort of insecurity or a sensitivity about them, which, it's in sort of an unwritten contract that you are there to protect me and basically satisfy my needs thereof, and that I need you to stay close at hand in order to make my life work for me. So there's a very sort of unspoken contract of satisfying and especially being sensitive to the covert narcissist needs. And what's very covert is that it's not spoken, it is nonverbal, it is insinuated. It is sort of built into the fabric of the relationship, particularly that if there's a sort of physical shortcoming, a background shortcoming. They might have come from another country. So there's an insinuation that, you're sensitive to their status. They might have come from impoverished background. They might have come from a very rural area. They might have come from an impoverished family. They might have come from unfair family dynamics. So there's this always sort of protection of the needs of the covert narcissist, which then becomes of paramount importance and becomes where other people in their life then fill the vacuum. It's very a vacuous need. In other words, it then takes overriding precedence. So they tend to attract people who will be strong enough to fulfill and play out these needs, and always keep this on the front burner, keep this of paramount importance and sort of pivotal in their life, almost like for lack of a better term, an anchor in the relationship that only lets you go so far. So there's always an anchor to this person. And so this is where the boundary violation sets up and takes place, because healthy relationships, functional relationships, are typified by healthy boundaries and respect. Respect has to be on both sides of the fence. It has to be typified by self-respect, i.e., I can satisfy my needs. My needs are going to be met here, and I have the trust thereof, and I'm supported therein, as well as I expect to receive respect, to be attended to be listened to have physical safety, emotional safety, that there is a feeling of trust, meaning that there is an agreement that there is a respect of boundaries or a listening to needs, especially the need to grow, the need to be able to be more expansive, to have your life go places, for you to honor your own strengths, for you to have this independence satisfied. And so when we talk about the covert narcissist and why wouldn't they allow you to basically spread your wings and be supported, is to understand that the covert narcissist is reliant or dependent on others to fulfill their status, to be supportive of their needs, and also not their equal thereof. If a covert narcissist can keep you in a limited self-belief pattern, there is always the security that you are never going to get so strong that you would leave or not attend to their needs, or not sort of be this anchor or tie to being there to buffer for them and their own hurt and their own security. So the people who have the most successful relationships with a covert narcissist are the people who will embody the satisfaction of the protection of their own insecurities, who will be that buffer for them, even if this means they're going without. It is really then the self-sacrifice that then becomes sort of the driving force. It becomes the feel-good. The walls in the relationship basically then are keeping a pain locked in. And it is until the pain is great enough that people then say, I'm living in too confining a relationship. It is too restrictive. I'm not able to feel a sense of liberation. I don't feel like there's an equal give and take. I feel like there's something that is holding me back, particularly this relationship. There's a sort of a guilt pattern. There's a sort of insinuation of disappointment, lack of support, questioning thereof. Why would you want to have this health club? Why would you want to have this tennis membership? Why would you want to take this class? Why would you want to start this business? Why would you want to, pursue this career? There's always a sort of, a downplaying or making irrational of your own healthy needs. It keeps you in an unhealthy distance to the needs of this person. And so, especially those people who are empathic, they're always going to feel like you're right. Your needs predominate and override the relationship. It becomes then sort of a confusion pattern. And so, and there's sort of, a playing that, why don't you do this? Why don't you help here? Why don't you, pick up? There's a vacuum of power in the relationship. And then if furthermore, that this person has the power, this person has the control, and to double guess it would be unintelligent. So there's a feeling that your needs are irrational, that they are to be questioned, they are questionable, they are unfounded. And so there's a feeling of guilt for having your needs met. And so there is then a feeling of lack. And then the feeling really of being held back is then feeling like your needs cannot be met. And so the feeling of lack then perpetuates in the relationship, and then it keeps you stuck. And then this then becomes furthermore the feeling of, well, I don't know what my needs are. I'm so distanced from them. I don't know what my wants are. People then feel like, they can't then go and expand and grow in the areas of their life where they really should be able to focus on. And it's to understand that the narcissist is all about the self-interest. It's all about ensuring that their own narcissistic needs are met and that the others are deprived in a deprived state. Because if you can do that, it keeps a very subtle form of attention on them. And then the narcissist, particularly that and those people who get really malignant and very psychopathic, it is to be to the point where the boundaries are so disrupted, they are so fused, they are so enmeshed, and they're so intertwined, and they're so blurred that this person then does really a sort of a pattern of interrupt, so that they're constantly thinking about the covert narcissist. So they then desire attention 24/7. And so, in other words, while you're getting up in the morning, there's gonna be a text, there's gonna be a picture, there's gonna be an unmade breakfast, there's gonna be an unmade bed, there's gonna be a trip, there's gonna be something where you have to constantly be thinking about them, constantly planning for them, constantly reactive, and then furthermore, sort of playing into their hands, if you will. There is an unspoken, sort of, you need to be constantly thinking about me, planning for me, doing and showing up for my life. In other words, your life then becomes as an echoist, Dr. Craig Malkin, and then endurism, basically, where you are then placating and always satisfying of their needs, particularly their narcissistic needs, their ego needs. And oftentimes the spiritual aspect goes invalidated. So the deeper core aspect, the authentic self, the authentic you, is what ends up getting shriveled and unattended to. And so that's really sort of the flow in your life when you kind of are trying to pull back and sort of unattach yourself from the vacuous needs of the covert narcissist, is to get the emotional fluid, the spiritual flow back, the authentic you back into your life, and to herald and champion and master that. So the problem then is to understand there's a number of different factors here that are being played on, especially the guilt of satisfying of your own needs, because to do so would be irrational. There's always sort of a calculation or an assumption, or even you could have had a talk about things that you wanted to do or become or go or see in the relationship, and then they were minimized, they were made irrational, unfounded, they were questioned. And it's to understand that the issue then becomes the understanding that then it becomes almost an obsessive sensitivity to this person, and that their hurt is more important to you than your life. In other words, you being a soothing presence to them becomes more important. You becoming attentive to their needs is in the top of your list, and to otherwise do so would make you a bad person, too selfish. There's this sort of understanding that is insinuated. So it's the unspoken contract that gets set up in the beginning of the relationship, which you might remember or you might not remember if it's been years or decades, that has caused you to sort of put their needs and their sensitivity to such as first, and to not be sensitive would make you a cold, callous, selfish, alone, isolated person, that you don't have what it takes to make it on your own, is what is insinuated. This is a lack of support. This is pathological. To assume that somebody doesn't have the right to independence, self-respect, perhaps if you're a man, a woman, whatever it is, there's a subtle sort of insinuating that you are a second class. And this should never pervade a relationship. If someone is basically insinuating that you cannot exist without them, or that you should be constantly thinking about them, being sensitive to their wounds, that then being sensitive to their wounds should be the, fill up the black hole of your life, or to fill up the core of your life, is to live by an external locus of control, and that is going to be unhealthy. A healthy relationship is typified by respect, by self-respect, respect of others, and a balance. And so if you can, identify this, it's to understand that this is how the dynamic plays out. This is how it feels. That's how it goes. And so you need to pull back, almost like a suction, an emotional, spiritual suction, getting it off of them and pulling it back within. Feeling okay, you can do this, not to feel guilty, to be able to, have attendance to your needs, and that you don't have to feel like your needs are going to be unmet. So that is part of the wound, that it's okay to find someone who can then fulfill your needs for connection. It's going to feel somewhat different, but I hope this video helps you understand why a covert narcissist would want to keep you small, keep you questioning, keep you doubting, keep you wondering, keep you held back, keep you restricted, because to do so, would mean that there would be a chance that you would, then grow away from or distance to and not see or protect the status, the narcissistic needs, the narcissistic ego needs of the relationship, and how this creates sort of a spiritual absence in fulfilling of needs in the relationship. It's a big difference between the healthy and the unhealthy when you really get further along the path. Allow yourself to go there, go the distance, live your needs, satisfy your needs, and feel good about it, and really begin to focus on what it is that you need. I need warmth. I need love. I need this. I need that. I need to know that. Begin to really, uncover these as you go through your day today. Don't be afraid to write them down and to really reflect on them, especially your needs that you have been denying, because the covert narcissist relationship oftentimes is typified by a long-standing denial of this. So don't be afraid to be rigorously honest with yourself and look at how you have been in denial of your own needs, and don't be afraid to go there. Don't be afraid to address those needs that you have been in denial of. Whether it is you want to work on a talent, you want to develop a certain area of your life that has been deprived thereof, don't be afraid to go there. Whether it's a spiritual need that you have been, denying, a fiscal need, a physical need, a need for connection, a need for expansion, a need for learning, a need for intellect, a need for your heart. Don't be afraid to fill in those needs. And when you really do that, when you really embrace that, that's when your 6th and 7th sense really begins to kick in. And you begin to have a new sort of voice kind of come in, would say, I wonder what would happen if, this would really help me improve here. So your expansion, your growth, your learning, sort of your new emotional mental centers, the new neural networks begin to wire and fire. You begin to live in the solution. You begin to live the dream. You begin to free up that prefrontal cortex that's trying, that higher evolved aspect of you that's trying to say, hey, you've got this, you can do this. And it's oftentimes what was not acknowledged and validated by this covert narcissist. So, and then if you are feeling that you're unanchored from this person, then amen, that is okay. Begin to put that strength and solidity, do yourself solid, and don't be afraid to let go of that anchor that has been the resentment, the anger that's connected to all that and connected to the covert narcissist. Begin to dissolve that, liberate that, pull that back into you, begin that release. And it is allow state. You can do it. Allow yourself to live in fullness and abundance. You can do this. It's your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today. And I hope that these videos do help and are liberating. and make sense. Please share. Please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support. Peace out. Love you.